Welcome to Cyber Frontier, bringing you the latest news, trends, and hottest topics that focus on advances in cybersecurity and cyber industry economics. Our expert yet down-to-earth hosts make cybersecurity straightforward. They ask the tough questions and make this challenging topic something that everyone can understand. Our candid approach lets guests open up on topics we would all like to see addressed. You can find us on the web at newcyberfrontier.com. That's www.newcyberfrontier.com. Now join today's host as he introduces the topic for today's new Cyber Frontier.
Welcome to today's episode of New Cyber Frontier. On today, we are going to talk about industrial control systems and ICS, as it's called, security. Today's guest, John Jaisaree, is the principal cybersecurity consultant at Revolutionary Security and also an engineer, industrial security tech for 25 plus years. So quite a bit of experience. Welcome today, John. How are you?
I'm doing great.
And it was good to talk to you because before the show, because I have a background in this area, and it's always interesting to hear an update in the industry. I've been a little bit out developing products and some other things the last couple of years. But John, give us a little bit of background on yourself. How did you get to where you're at? What were you like as little John? Things like that.
Well, I started my, I had an interest for technology, and I decided, instead of going to medical school, I wanted to, initially that was my first choice, but then I decided engineering would be the second best thing. So I attended University of Waterloo, and I pursued a career in mechanical and electrical engineering. And I worked as an engineer for almost 25 years. About 7 years ago, I came across someone that actually brought a level 2 security switch to my attention, and not knowing much about security, I was intrigued by what this is capable of doing. So then I asked more questions. He demonstrated, how a switch can actually detect spoofing, an attack on a network. And I says, well, I'm not a security guy, but this seems to be something that I'm very much interested in. So I started to dig deeper into it, and with limited knowledge, I started connecting with people in the industry, just trying to understand, cybersecurity. And I actually connected with a couple of folks from Israel that was here at a trade show in the US, and from there my knowledge started to expand. I mean, they were already much more advanced in the industrial control cybersecurity space. So I ended up picking up a lot of my knowledge and experience while working with them, and I continue pursuing that career. And then 3 years into it, I actually got invited to speak at a community college in Toronto, and I did a presentation on cybersecurity for industrial control systems and Industry 4.0. And Deloitte was in the audience at the time, and they came up to me at the end of the presentation and said they wanted to speak with me. So at the end of the conference, we had coffee, and we discussed, where we go from here. And I was invited to the Deloitte office in Toronto, and they were very much interested in what I had in terms of industrial security. And 4 months later, I was on a project with Deloitte Canada, doing a project in Alberta for the oil and gas industry. And once I completed that project, I ended up coming into the United States and started working with Deloitte US. And prior to that, I was doing contract work in Canada with some of the utilities there, some of the industrial establishments. So.
Mm-hmm. So you're Canadian, is where?
Yes.
You're, okay.
Yes, I am Canadian, and I'm still Canadian.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So Tell us about well, actually, first we're going to take a break real quick and hear from our sponsors. But when we come back, I want you to tell us about that start in OT, operation technologies. Usually,
Yeah.
a lot of people don't hear that too often. But then what that is, and you said you got interested in security after doing that for a while. Most people would assume that is or does have a security part with it. But tell us when we get back about that and the difference between what OT and IT means in your perspective. Be right back.
Cyber Resilience Institute helps build strong cyber communities designed to prevent members from attack. Like building a neighborhood watch, it takes coordination and a sharing community to protect our identities and valuables in the virtual world. Typically, we hear that organizations know they need to do something to protect their cyber assets, but don't know where to begin. Let Cyber Resilience Institute help your community create an action plan. Cyber Resilience Institute will build your community or business marketplace so that it is designed to support a collective cyber defense. Contact them for more information at cyberresilienceinstitute.org.
Welcome back to New Cyber Frontier. On today, talking to John Jaisaree, Principal Cybersecurity Consultant at Revolutionary Security, and talking about industrial control cybersecurity. And John, you gave us your background before the break, talking about your path to security. But you started for years, 25 years or however many before you started in security, with OT. Tell us what that means to be an OT, but yet not in security, and then how the two cross.
Well, being an engineer, I mean, our focus is really building control systems, implementing control systems, for many factories around the world. So we really don't get into the business side of our company in terms of the IT infrastructure. I mean, we work with very similar technology in the industrial space, but it's specialized in the sense that it's all, you have SCADA systems, you have HMI that controls processes, you have DCS systems, and these are systems that are more focused on industrial control systems. Whereas on the IT side, you find most systems that are really for running the business. They're the accounting system, they're the communication systems that are more primarily focused on running the business. But on the manufacturing side, it's really more running the manufacturing processes or the industrial systems that they're, whether it's an oil and gas company or it's a manufacturing company that manufacturing beverages. So there is a distinction between the two. The technology is is different that's been used. They're more sensitive to any types of disruption from from any type of scanning in the environment. So even the deployment of endpoints in the environment is quite different from IT and OT. So there's quite a difference in terms of the architecture, in terms of the how the systems operate so you just cannot take IT security and overlay to an OT because there is a difference, and you really have to understand the environment such that when you make recommendations to clients, you really need to consider the difference in technology and difference in the way the system operates.
Uh-huh. And that's the base piece of it. You were saying before we started that the area that is the largest gap in that is in knowledge of what you just said and what the difference is and how you operate on one versus the other. Explain what you see in that area with that knowledge gap.
Well, over the years, a lot of folks that are been in the security space, mostly IT security, have really, OT technology, and they've done quite well. I do work with a team of individuals like that, but sometimes there's a gap in understanding, the communication between the OT environment, the SCADA systems, or even the historian, the data collection systems that communicates, collects data from the process and then report that data back to the production or the operations people. And then information from that is also reported back to the business side. Some of the decision makers want to look at production information, the machine downtime, measuring efficiency, overall equipment effectiveness. So there's definitely those technology that sits in the OT environment, and they do communicate with the equipment. And many times, I mean, almost every company I've been to, uh, these two systems are fairly openly connected, means they're on a flat network. So the approach we take is to basically segregate these network, and we implement something called a DMZ within. It's basically logically separating the two systems, and
Mm-hmm.
that's really one of the things that we always come up during our assessment is to how do we protect the OT environment versus the IT, because as you know, over the years most companies have invested uh, in the IT space. They've been securing the business network because they felt that the business network had more risk, more threats. They're internet facing, whereas the OT network is not. So they have not really invested a lot of money, but into securing the OT environment. But looking at the amount of ransomware incidents we've had over the last year, we've noticed that the OT network is just as vulnerable or even more vulnerable than the IT network. And because of they have not invested much security in the environment, the environment is fairly open to cyber attacks.
So now I know a couple years ago in the U.S. and you work both U.S. Canada, but the NERC SIP Critical Infrastructure Protection basically was a mandate or compliance said make that air gap, isolate the two networks, isolate the OT network in different rings so that it's not vulnerable. Is that that is what you were saying at first? Is that still first of all is that something that's big in Canada as well? And is that working from what you see?
Well, there's no such thing as an air gap network today because most of the networks are connected by some means. There is some communication between IT and OT, even if they declare that it's an air gap system. Just someone, connecting a laptop onto the network. I mean, most engineers today, they have their laptops, they connect it to the business network, and then they connect it to the OT network. Even though they may not have a physical network connection, they're still bringing a risk from the IT network into the OT network, and that happens every day. I mean, it's not really something we can avoid. To go on the internet and download patches, and you have to be on the internet, and how they get to the internet is through the business network. Once they've completed that process, they go into the plant network and plug that laptop uh, onto the network. So if there was a malware that was in that laptop, actually it's gonna and it was targeted towards industrial control systems, then you've now infected that network. So there's really, I would not declare networks are air gapped. There's no such thing anymore.
But that was one of the initial intents of that type of compliance is segregated. So you think it's not working?
The the electric utility and NERCSIP was really how do we build a secure network? I mean, based on what was currently in the environment, and they've done a lot of great things, and NERC has pushed to create electronic security perimeters. So I would say the utility is much more ahead when it comes to OT security, and this is all driven out of NERC.
Mm-hmm.
So
So
in
what?
other words, the grid is more secure than a manufacturing company that makes beverages or paper or something.
Okay. But overall, you think that that's a good direction, or is there still a gap there?
Well, there's always room for improvement in security.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and all the work we've done so far, we've uncovered certain areas that they need to improve upon. So security is is an ongoing effort for most companies. And as the threat becomes more advanced and more persistent, yes, we need to look at, better ways of defending against cyber attack.
Hmm. Okay, well, we're going to take a break here from our sponsors, but when we get back, I want to hear your ideas about what the better ways are, what you see advancing the state of the art, and what areas might take a holistic approach to making things better. We'll be right back after we hear from our
Sure.
sponsors.
Murray Security Services are your cybersecurity experts with decades of experience providing professional training services for our clients in various industries. We offer professional training and certification in areas of cybersecurity, safety, health, and environmental services at our academy. Our in-person and online training provides a collaborative environment where students can interact directly with instructors through live chats or in private classrooms. Visit murraysecurityservices.com for more information.
Welcome back to New Cyber Frontier. On today, John Jaisaree, the Principal Security Consultant at Revolutionary Security, and very seasoned professional in operation technology, OT, for critical infrastructure, utilities, and industrial IoT. So we were talking about security and kind of the state of the industry, whether some of the compliance that has come out a couple of years ago has made us better off or not, and where we're going. But when we left right before the break, you talked about the new threats and things coming out that are getting more complex. And we need to have a holistic approach. Let's talk about that a little bit and say what do you see with new threats coming down that are becoming more problematic?
Well, as the threats are advanced, obviously we are exposed to much greater risk. So, looking at where the industry is going, I mean, there are companies that are continuously developing new technology for detecting cyber threats in the OT space. And these companies are, the tools that we see coming out of some of these companies have the ability to detect any changes within the control systems. So if somebody exploit a PLC, those types of threats will be detected. So if you have, example I can give you, if a water treatment plant has been hacked or compromised, and someone starts uh, to dis, I mean to deposit chlorine in the water system, uh, as normal operation. Let's say, drinking water is 0.005 concentration of chlorine. Let's say somebody changed that to zero point 0.5 or 5 parts per million. I mean, definitely the system will detect that. It has the ability to detect anyone manipulating control systems. And I've spoken to quite a number of vendors that are in this space. So there's a lot of advancement happening in the OT security space. We know that OT is not secured. There's a lot of legacy technology still running in the environment. So I mean, you can't protect some of these things. And how do you do it is you develop, we call it compensating controls in our field. So we look at other ways to securing it. If we can't secure it through our segmentation of firewall or an endpoint, we look at other ways of doing it. And this technology has the ability to detect any type of manipulation or any changes to the industry control system, whether it's a PLC somebody's trying or DCS systems, they're trying to change the control system's normal operating parameters. Also, let's say you have temperatures that are set, you have a set point, a minimum, maximum, somebody tries to change the upper limits and the or the low limits on this. Like for example, the Stocknet was a good example of where uh, a malware was able to put a centrifuge into oscillation, and then and through that oscillation process, it entered into something called a harmonic frequency, and then it destroyed itself. And without the operators knowing that, because all the instrumentation was saying here, everything is good, we have no issues, everything is within the operating parameters that they were designed for. But in fact, the attackers were actually lowering the speed and increasing it and trying to find that frequency that would cause the system to fail.
Hmm. So in that case, we're looking at a definite attack that somebody's going after, trying to damage something. What do you see if you see an increase in attacks lately? What are the attackers after? Are they just trying to create anarchy?
Well, depending on what we're looking at, we've seen a lot of attack in ransomware. You know, ransomware is basically they encrypt the hard drive of your system. It's no longer operational, and in order to have it operational, you have to pay money through ransom,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the only way you gain your system back. If you don't have proper backups, and then you have a problem. Basically, you have no choice but to pay the ransom. Secondly, you look at the downtime. How much time is it going to take me to restore from backups? Even you may have very good backups, but it might take you a week to get your plant or your system operational again. So
Mm-hmm.
paying the ransom is actually getting you back up and running within the same day. So a lot of companies choose to pay the ransom because it's the easiest way to get their system back. But one of the things about the ransomware is that once they're in, they have they have enough knowledge of your environment. They can come back and attack you again and again. And every time they come back, they increase that ransomware. So yeah,
Interesting.
that's one of the biggest challenge we see right now. And unless it's a nation state attack, then they may go specifically targeting some specific companies or industry.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say, we take oil and gas as an example. You know, I have a very good friend that works out in the Middle East, and they've been seeing a lot more incident against the oil and gas industry, and it's more nation state focused. So
Trying
it
to
depends on
affect.
the type of attacks. It varies.
So trying to in oil and gas, they're looking at affecting economic, pricing and
Yes,
stuff like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
So
yeah,
okay, but we don't.
yeah.
Have we seen too much? And other than like in the Ukraine where they wanted to shut something down, which seemed like a test to something else. Um, do we see the malicious? We just want to hurt something or destroy something. Do we see that coming in? I mean, that's not.
Yeah, we see that also. We haven't seen any attacks. I mean, from what I don't have evidence on this, but I've heard there's been a lot of attacks on the grid within the U.S. But because of the level of defense that's in place, they have not successfully penetrated anything on the grid side.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean it's not going to happen, maybe, but that's where I think utilities are taking a huge step to protecting the grid right now, which is something we are involved in a lot of projects that basically ensuring that we have the level of security to protect this critical infrastructure.
Interesting. So, what do we think about looking at the holistic approach moving forward? You said we need more domain knowledge, more engineers, more security people understanding the difference between OT and IT for security. But as far as solutions and holistic, is there a silver bullet coming up that you've seen? Was I've heard software defined networking, zero trust networking. Are these things potentials? What do you see coming down the path?
Well, I think it's more collaboration between IT and OT and leveraging everyone expertise. So, working as a team is really critical. In terms of where I see our direction going.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things that our team here at Revolution Security, definitely we have a very good team with knowledge on both sides, because as you notice, a lot of systems within the OT are very much run on IT technology. So that, I think, going from a holistic standpoint, we need to have more integration between the different teams, and we're seeing that happening now. They're all coming to the table. They're all sharing knowledge. It's really about collaboration and knowledge sharing that's going to help us to solve these problems.
Okay, so you think it's a human problem, that training and awareness is the solution?
Yes, I mean, most ransomware attack are coming from a human element in this environment, and that's a big area that most companies are undertaking, is to understand the human element. That's the weakest link in the system. So once we work towards eliminating the weakest link, I mean, providing more training to employees, I think we'll see better results going forward. We'll be able to have less incidents of ransomware. I mean, there is going to be those attacks that we will go undetected, but most of the ransomware incidents we've seen can be eliminated by proper training. And also, as I said, the engineers have a little bit more domain knowledge, and I think we need to see more engineers making the transition into cybersecurity, because engineers have that knowledge of the various systems that most IT folks don't have.
Okay.
But definitely the collaboration effort is a big piece that I see where, you know, will solve a lot of the problems, because we all have our own area of expertise, but coming together, I mean, we can move mountains.
Yeah. So, if somebody coming into looking to get into this space, this industry, what's the path that you would recommend? A double E degree, and then move into cybersecurity, or what do you recommend for a student looking to move into this area?
I say a double E degree will definitely be an advantage to working in the industrial control system security space, because you've already had some industry experience working, whether you came out of a oil and gas company, you came out of manufacturing, or you came out of the utility space. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
and I've worked with people that have that domain knowledge, and yes, they really understand the environment much, very very well. So I
Mm-hmm.
work with both engineers and non-engineers in the space.
So, what would you say to somebody that's in IT side, data information security, and wants to transition? How would that best path be for that?
I mean, quite a number of guys I work with have gone through that path, and it's really, it takes experience, years, working uh, side by side with some of the engineers that are on the team, and just helping them through that process. Maybe giving a one-on-one lesson on PLCs, industrial control systems. So,
Mm-hmm.
it's from a control systems engineer. I mean, I've done this quite a number of times, and even I've offered my to do some training at Revolutionary Security to help some of the guys who coming into the space. They may come from the utility industry, but they have no knowledge of manufacturing,
Mm-hmm.
and I can do a workshop just explaining how these systems are built and what to expect in the environment. And I think that transfer of knowledge will definitely, I mean, these guys are bright, they're smart people, they have good, you have a good solid background. So for them, they can easily pick it up. I'm confident that most of the guys that are transitioning from IT can do just as a good job as the OT guys.
Okay. Well, thanks for joining today. As
Yeah.
we're kind of closing up, how would people use your services? What do you offer? Go ahead and give a shout out that says, "Hey, here's what we do, and here's the type of customers we're engaged with."
Yeah, well, we cover a very broad area of cybersecurity. We have the OT practice where we basically do a lot of assessments. We help clients build out their cybersecurity programs, and we help them mature in that space. I mean, we also have another team that focus on the IT side, but there are projects that we collaborate on many times. So if we're working with a manufacturing company or utility. As I said, there's no demarcation point between IT and OT anymore. So we would engage the IT and the OT team, and we'll work together to accomplish that. So there's a lot of integration of different technology and different people from different groups. So I mean, our company, we have a very strong OT team, and we're making a lot of progress. And we're only 3 years old, and we're doing extremely well in this space on the OT side.
All right. And how would somebody get a hold of you? What's your website?
Our website is www.revsec.com.
Okay. And there you go. We heard it first here from John Jaisaree, the Principal Cybersecurity Consultant at Revolutionary Security, revsec.com. Thanks a lot for joining today, John. And you have a great day.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you for listening to New Cyber Frontier. Remember to follow or like our post and circulate each new show to your networks. We keep you informed, bring you the latest news, explore new trends, and find the hottest topics. With New Cyber Frontier, you don't have to be a computer or cybersecurity expert. Just get plugged in. We encourage you to get involved. Tell us what topics interest you and join our mailing lists. You can find us on the web at www.newcyberfrontier.com. That's newcyberfrontier.com. Check out our previous interviews and please let us know if there are any topics that you would like to hear discussed. See you next time on New Cyber Frontier.